You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
What's up, everybody? I'm DJ Kissel. This is KCSN Update, our daily Chiefs show and podcast here at KC Sports Network. Thanks for hanging out. The Prince of Chiefs content, Nate Taylor from The Athletic and Times R's fame, will be joining me here in just a few minutes to answer our 5 burning questions, just as we do every Tuesday here at KCSN. But before Nate tells us what it was like in the locker room after that game and gives us an explanation, and we give him a little grief for his prediction before that game, not going to let him forget that, here's a quick word from our friends over at DraftKings. The stage is set, and we're counting down to the battle in Arizona. There's no better way to get ready for the NFL action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 57. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Plus, all new and existing customers can take a shot at an even bigger payout with DraftKings stepped-up Same Game Parlays. Boost your Super Bowl 57 winnings with each leg you add up to 100%. It's the Chiefs, it's the Eagles, it's Andy Reid, it's the Kelce brothers. There is no shortage of storylines going into this game. Plus, all of the Chiefs players that are banged up right now and getting the medical staff to get those guys ready. They have had the spotlight on them for the last week or so with Patrick Mahomes, with Travis Kelsey, all the other guys that had to put a lot of work in to get out onto that field. Shout out to the Chiefs training staff. A lot of storylines. Going to be a fun one down there in Arizona. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KCSN as new customers can bet $5 on Super Bowl 57 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void in Ohio. See show notes for details. All right, now let's welcome on the Prince of Chiefs content and supporter of the Cincinnati Bengals, Mr. Nate Taylor from The Athletic. Because one of us picked the Bengals to win, and it wasn't the guy hosting this show. I'm sorry, buddy. I had to say it. I had to say it. What a football game. I mean, I don't know if we're all going to figure out ways to try and describe that football game. I love getting your perspective here with our 5 burning questions, because especially in moments like this, because you were there.
Yeah.
You were in the locker room. I know there's videos and things that can come out that are produced and cut and all that, but like you're in there talking with the players, walking around, like understanding that vibe that's in the locker room. Can you try and paint the picture of what it was like for us in that locker room with that group after that game?
Yeah. So of course, yes, I did pick the Bengals. One of the rare times this year I've not picked the Chiefs to win. So I am a respectable journalist. I'm willing to give logical predictions, projections, and then am I willing to admit that I didn't necessarily see the game plan going out that particular way from the Chiefs defense? No, I didn't. I knew they were confident. But look, they actually tackled Jamar Chase for the first time ever. Right
off the bat.
They got to Joe Burrow not once, but numerous times. And of course, when we recorded, BJ, we had not seen the practice, development from Patrick Mahomes. As I've said before, he kind of looked stiff on Wednesday and looked a lot better in Thursday's portion of the practice that we were able to watch. So things changed over the course of the week. The game, I think for Chiefs fans, BJ, the first thought that came into my mind as I was getting from the elevator to come down from the press box to go to the locker room, I just sort of like mumbled it to myself, and then I sort of said it out loud just to see like what the initial reaction would be in the elevator. But I think for Chiefs fans, that was life affirming. And it just reminds you of like not only just the thrillingness of the sport, but it's life affirming because, as I've said before, and I need to say it again, perhaps to even remind myself, like for Chiefs fans, the team you root for has Patrick Mahomes and nothing else matters. Like in the grand scheme of it, what he can do to elevate himself, to elevate his teammates, to get his teammates to believe. And I think that was probably the best thing that he did over the course of the week. He got the other 52 guys to believe, even with me playing on a high ankle sprain, we can go out there and get a victory. And everybody else sort of rallied behind him. Chris Jones, one of the things that Trent McDuffie told me in the locker room, BJ, was that Chris Jones essentially called his own shot. So on the last possession for the Bengals, before the guys go onto the field, as the Chiefs are punting, as I think people are somewhat skeptical about, hey, you know, it's 4th and 9, midfield. You sure you want to punt this, Andy? It's a tie game. While that was happening, Chris Jones was telling a lot of the guys on defense, particularly a lot of the young guys, that like, this is our moment. Trust in yourselves. We are a brotherhood. We are going to get this done. And then on 3rd and 8, he basically just runs right through Hakeem Adeniji, gets the most impressive, important sack of his career to end the Bengals season, in essence, because I thought their offense was the thing that was going to have to carry them in the second half. But of course, they had no counter to Chris Jones. And look, a lot of the coverage on the back end was tight. It's the tightest coverage I think they've had against a like of Jamar Chase, of T. Higgins. Obviously, Tyler Boyd didn't play in the second half. So that was one of the nuggets from the locker room. But it's just life affirming. It's just everything that you've believed about your life as a Chiefs fan was pretty much confirmed on Sunday in a dramatic, thrilling, like, victory that I could not see, 5 days earlier, because I know how talented and how good the Bengals are. But that quarterback gives you such a belief that I understand from Chiefs fans why you should say, as long as he's on the field, as long as he has the ability to pass the football downfield, to do something creatively, not only with his body, but with his mind, he gives you an insane chance of winning. And so one of the fans who was in the elevator, he kind of chuckled, because it's like, yeah, it's the truth. Like, your life has just been affirmed, sir, as a Chiefs fan. That was a life-affirming victory. And also, it just demonstrates that when he's on 1.5 legs, he's still better than everybody else. So in the gotta-have-it moment, he goes and gets 5 yards. Obviously, there's a penalty to Joseph Asai, who you absolutely feel gutted for. But he makes the plays when the plays are there to be made.
There's a lot to unpack there about the life affirming stuff, because I will be completely honest. I hated the decision to punt. We had a second live stream going, and in an emotional game like that, like, all of our thoughts were coming out, like, in stream of consciousness. Like, what in the hell are we doing?
No,
and then after
don't give the ball back to Joe Burrow. What are you doing? What are you doing?
And then Matty gets the other side of it. He's like, look, they're banged up. It was a thing.
Marcus Kemp is running gotta have it routes. Think about that, y'all. Marcus Kemp is running we gotta have it routes.
But that was the point, is like, you know how many more plays it's going to take to get us right back into a position like that? And then you're kind of affirmed again. It's like, all right, Andy Reid's good at this. Not that he knew exactly how it was going to go, but hearing the Chris Jones stuff, like, it's just legendary type moments that will be spoken about when talking about Chris. It's amazing that you got that comment. If anyone like that didn't capture, that wasn't captured on the broadcast. It's amazing to have.
I wonder if NFL
you guys there to be.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, I wonder if NFL Films will have something about it, but that's something I'm going to try to report more on, because everything's happening so fast. Like, I need to remind people that, like, there's cigar everywhere, just cigar smoke everywhere. There's confetti. There's obviously the guys with the commemorative caps, the T-shirts. Guys are celebrating. There's family members. There's 1 minute it's I'm trying to think. There's celebrities in there. Paul Rudd would be the one that probably jumps out the most. I'm not sure if I saw Eric Stonestreet, but I heard that he might have been in the building. So, like, I fist bumped Pat Senior. I'm sitting here seeing what Tammy's doing. It's the most unnormal locker room of the entire season, of course, because they're going to the Super Bowl. This is not like hey, let's just bring everybody in. I give a quick 2-minute post-game speech. Take care of your bodies. Here's what we got next. Here's what we're doing. Like, no, Coach didn't give a post-game speech. They basically all just, Pacheco's just dancing. Obviously, guys are live streaming on like Instagram and on, obviously there's TikTok videos of what the guys are doing. So it's just an insane environment. You're trying to like interview a guy for maybe 4 minutes. Like, I got 3 questions. I got to get them 1, 2, 3, and I got to get to the next guy. And you see like, oh, Orlando Brown's talking. Well, he actually played pretty well in a gotta have it game for his own like NFL future, and now he gets to go play a Super Bowl. Okay, I want to talk to him. Obviously, McDuffie. There was a really cool moment with Pacheco. So you're just bouncing around, and then Pat is just like probably the most relaxed I've seen him after a game of just being like that was really cool. Like we really did that. And it's like, yeah, it's like, he's just sitting there.
He's like, I'm him.
Yeah.
Very nonchalant. Like, I'm that guy. Did you forget? Like he put the GIF out after the game, like on social media, like, who do you think you are? I am, like the bowling GIF. Like, absolutely amazing. And one thing about the Chris Jones that kind of associated with your story is that I don't know if you saw it. It came, Jay Feely, I think it put out on, I don't know if it was Twitter, but he was part of the broadcast crew that said during the production meetings going into that game, Chris Jones basically admitted in the first matchup, they did not move him around the defensive line because they felt like they were going to play him again. And they didn't want to show everything or give those players reps. I mean, probably a combination of both, giving those players reps against him coming off tackle and then in the biggest play, like just absolutely dominating. I'm so happy for Chris and how that went down. But you talk about life affirming for Chiefs fans. Was this a life lesson for the Cincinnati mayor?
Ooh.
Like, have you for 2 minutes after the game for an Ohio legend from Cleveland to come out and do what Travis Kelce did and say it in such a historic manner that will be played over and over and over again? I put on social media that if you're the opposition candidate running for mayor in Cincinnati, like all you have to do is be like, we may have gone to the Super Bowl if this guy didn't egg on the entire Kansas City Chiefs team.
Platter, just here it is. Look, I don't know what he's doing for the lives of Cincinnatians, but yeah, if you want to get reelected, talk the talk after the game. It's just, it's an embarrassment that he got involved to that degree. Like you're being publicly criticized on national television in the most visible thing on the platform, which is the NFL in the postseason. Like millions of people are watching this. And if you want to be a senator, if you want to be like if you want to be a congressman, like if you I think we can remove president and vice president from the mix. But if you want to advance yourself in this endeavor, I don't know who was advising him. I know they're mostly young.
That's what I want to know.
I know they're probably mostly young people because you need to have obviously perspectives, but there's got to be somebody on the city council like dog, like no, like what are we doing? So there's
a lot of yes people around. Maybe a lot of yes people. Maybe a lot of people that thought it would be funny but really didn't think it. To your point,
I haven't looked this up. Is it an election year next year? Because that was a bold strategy, Bob.
I have no idea, but I would really like to know, because it seemed like he and Quentin Lucas had they had the barbecue bed or whatever it was before. That kind of led to all this, where it was like, hey, let's go back and forth. I'd really like to be like a fly on the wall. Quentin Lucas being like, I didn't mean like that. Like, dude, you just took this to a national storyline that was completely unneeded. All right, let's move on to the second burning question, because that one unpacked a lot. But Nate, is this the most impressive non-Super Bowl win in Andy Reid's tenure in Kansas City?
It's either this one or the 13 seconds game. As I said after that game last year, like the Grim Reaper, the 13 seconds, it will not hold its weight in lore, in Chiefs lore, if they don't obviously finish it off and go to the Super Bowl. We all know what happened. Yep. They collapsed. So that gets diminished in some sense. The quarterback was healthy in that game. Okay.
Right.
You were the home team, so that is equal. That's parallel. I would say Cincinnati is actually a better team this year than they were last year. So I think the opponent and I think the difficulty was increased. I mean, I think probably the biggest win in his career, and I just want to remind people of this, guys. They're going to play.
Whisper into the mic.
I'm trying my best. They are going to play a game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles are good. They got a really good defense. They had 70 sacks on the season. to my eyes, they are not as terrifying as that 2019. We just bring people off the bench who are pass rushing freaks for the 49ers. Obviously, you were there, BJ. You were in the building. They were down 10 with 10 minutes to go against a defense that was known for its pass rush. And they scored 3 consecutive touchdowns. It is one of the greatest comebacks in NFL Super Bowl history. I just want to remind people of that. So that's always number one. People just sort of assume that, like, oh, well, he just came back and that was not easy. That was not supposed to happen. Like, the fact that he went nuclear from wasp to never making a mistake, to never having a bad completion, to never putting them behind the sticks, to getting them to the finish line. What Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, and Patrick Mahomes, what the three of them did in that game is still astonishing to this day, because I think that 49ers team on defense is better than what the Chiefs will probably face Sunday, 2 Sundays from now against the Eagles. That is my opinion. So removing that game from number one, I think you can say that this is probably number 2 in his Chiefs tenure. The fact that they only had a week to prepare for an opponent who was just as good as they were, as I kind of projected a week earlier. I thought they were the better team given the circumstances in the situation. So, yeah, for them to accomplish what they accomplished, for them to have the better specials teams unit in that game is flabbergasting, because once again, they had the worst special teams all season. And then Harrison Butker is clutch. Sky Moore is clutch. Tommy Townsend is clutch, because if you want to go back and rewatch the game-winning kick, James Winchester doesn't have his best snap. Tommy Townsend has to catch it off the landmark, put it on his landmark, does it in one fluid motion, doesn't involve the laces, and Harrison Butker can have his glorious moment. But Tommy Townsend was a hero in that moment, because it wasn't a perfect snap if you go back and watch the execution on the operation. So, yeah, that's number 2. We'll see what happens in Arizona, but that was everybody having their redemption moment. And that's both, obviously that's what I wrote at The Athletic. It made the most sense to me. And for a team that had only lost 3 games, yet went through quite a bit of adversity, they all proved their excellence when it was absolutely required.
Yeah, I saw a tweet on social media from Patrick Brennan at Painting Corner on social media on the Sky Moore punt return. And I'll read it. Sky Moore increased the Chiefs' win probability from 59% to 71% with this punt return. It was the 12th largest by any punt return all season long.
Wow.
Given the stakes of the game, and not hyperbole to say that it's one of the most monumental special teams plays in Chiefs history, from a player that we were all terrified early in the year. Every time he stood
was back there.
It was a redemption game for so many people, whether it was Sky Moore, the special teams unit, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, like, just coming out and absolutely beasting. That was what was so special about, like, we were losing on the postgame show. We said, giving our flowers out. I literally think we named every single player on that team. I was shouting out Matt McMullen. I'm like, shout out to Matt McMullen for doing his thing out there, because it was just a special game all the way around. And to your point, given the context of all of the trash talk and the way that they stay locked in, the Travis Kelce stuff at the end, I think it was the most impressive win outside of the Super Bowl win for Andy Reid, kind of hands down, because of the context of everything. And yeah, just an absolute special performance. And we're going to have more with Nate Taylor from The Athletic right after this. Welcome back. We're talking with Nate Taylor from The Athletic, talking a little Chiefs Bengals and just how special that performance was. Nate, I was going to ask you if we're ever going to properly appreciate what we saw from Patrick Mahomes. We kind of did that early in the show, so we're going to bring up the bonus question that I didn't really want to get into, but it's become such a thing about the refs. This is not what I expect. This is not what I expected when I woke up on Monday in Las Vegas, getting ready for the East-West Shrine Bowl. Still in Vegas right now, getting ready to take off. We've got a ton of content for the draft out here. So look forward to that here in a month after the Chiefs get a Super Bowl, Chiefs Kingdom. But it doesn't have to be a long segment, Nate, which is saying something for you and I, but what the hell, man? Like I feel, you said it off the top, I feel awful for Joseph Asai. I was happy in the moment when I saw Patrick Mahomes get up. I wasn't happy to see that he was hurt. I thought Joseph Asai actually he was a problem throughout that entire game. And you feel for a young man that you watch it in slow motion, you feel it bad. It was not dirty. He was trying to make a play in the biggest moment of one of the biggest game of his football career. And that sucks. But the holding stuff, and then everything that I'm seeing on social media about teaching what a rip move is, what that looks like. And then it's brought up. We've had the conversations not on camera, but like Matty Lane bringing it up. I knew the rule because the Eric Fisher, James Harrison from the Steelers game, that should not have been a hold either, because it was same kind of deal. And that's when he learned the rule and how it's actually written. But what is your take on all the crap that we're seeing from now changing rules? 15-yard penalty on roughing the passer should be a minor penalty, keeping players safe and not penalizing things that could hurt them.
Yeah, I think the refs would be less of an element of an aftermath. I know. I think the refs would be minimized if they didn't have their own incompetence on display for the 3rd and 9. As I joked on Times Ours, I was like, they came together and was like, look, man, how many million people are watching right now? What if he gave him another 3rd down? Like, what if we just gave him another 3rd down? Patrick Mahomes on 3rd down. It's the most exciting thing in the sport. Like, why don't we just give him another one? I feel so bad for like the back judge who's running 40 yards downfield. Like, please, guys, please.
It was the smartest thing the broadcast did was show that spotlight. Yeah. Somebody in the NFL was like, for the love of God, there are tons of millions of people watching this game.
Cameras.
Show that or we're going to lose it. And it didn't matter. Yeah. Like, people forget that part of it. But at least when I saw that, because we were all looking at like, this is again, it's everything that we talked about on that game is on camera. Because like, this has never happened in the NFL. It's like, you know what? I think we screwed that up, guys. Let's go back and let's get this right. Zach Taylor honestly losing his mind for all the right reasons, but when they showed the back judge running in, it was like, okay, then I don't know what if he bailed and got out of the play. I haven't gone back and studied like if he got out of the way because the play started to continue to happen. But
once the play starts, he's just like his hands are like, what do I do?
Get me out of here.
And so then they do the buzz, and then I think New York gets involved. And so, obviously, it's been, you can look this up. It's on the pool report. But just the idea that, like, they got the operation wrong. They got the actual procedure slightly wrong. And then they didn't have enough time to sort of inform both teams of this. This all just proves that, like, there's a credibility issue with NFL refereeing. Doesn't mean we ain't going to stop watching all these games, right? Right? We only have Carl Chapman, controlling the Super Bowl from an.
You didn't have to bring his name up on this show, man, Nate.
It's just, it is what it is.
We're still in happy mode. You don't have to go there.
Hey, you asked the question. Hey,
I did not ask you about Carl Chevers.
You didn't ask me about Carl Chevers, but look, all I'm saying is these are supposed to be all-star crews, and I don't feel like I'm getting all-star production. I think that's what most fans feel like. Some of the other stuff is just petty. Complaining, and I get it because you've rooted with this team if you're a Bengals fan for months, man. Like, the season starts in like mid-July, and it's January 31st today. Like, it's a long journey. The Bengals are on a 10-game winning streak, but they can't block Chris Jones. As Andy Reid challenges the spot foul or the spot, the line to gain, and it has to be. I thought this was fascinating, but it had to be explained to Zach Taylor. Like, well, yes, you know what a tackle is, right? You grab the guy, but then you got to bring him to the ground. Was his ankles and knees above the turf? And then he extended the ball to the line of gain, and he still had yet to be tackled. But what about his progress? Did we blow a whistle? Because you had not brought him to the ground. So I think Zach Taylor's sort of actions on the sideline. Obviously, that gets captured by cameras. I think that filters down to some fans because if you feel like the away team is feeling jobbed, well, that's what the coach would normally look like. Again, they have to explain to Zach Taylor, Samaje Perine's in the other county. Was he in the tackle box? Did the ball pass the line of scrimmage? If all those things are no, we gotta throw the flag because that's intentional grounding. Like I don't what you want me to do. It's in playoff games, in championship like games, it's turnovers and it's penalties who tell you who's the better team, who tells you who's the better coach team. And sometimes if you don't know the holding rules, that's okay. I get it. But like the quarterback didn't want to get hit. So that's an intentional grounding. Hey, the defender has two guys on Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Still got the first down because they didn't bring him to the ground. So
they didn't tackle Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah. I mean, like
they had everybody right there to tackle him.
It's simple stuff that gets obviously magnified and examined a little bit more than a usual regular season game. But I think part of it is because Zach Taylor was so demonstrative when the refs tried to explain to him. They're like, look, man, we got the operation wrong. It's another third down. And by the way, like, y'all got to stop less than a minute later. So it wasn't like the Chiefs really gained any yardage, even with the holding penalty on the next third down. The Chiefs didn't get points out of that. The Chiefs didn't really get into, deep into Cincinnati's territory. So they got the ball on the punt in a similar, manner of the field that they would have otherwise had they not had that operation go wrong. But really it's the opposing coach being demonstrative so that fans feel like their own thoughts can be justified. And it's also, look, we're just losing some integrity when it comes to officiating because the officiating has not been as consistent or as reliable as I think we want to expect when when the league is telling you these are the best guys that we have for the most important games.
Yeah, that it's just frustrating as a Chiefs fan with all of the talking that the Bengals had all week and the Bengals fans and even the players that's what it turns into. And again, now we're going to try to change rules with people, national media, big J journalists as yourself coming out after the game and saying maybe we should rethink the roughing the passer penalty not being a 15-yard penalty. Let's make it a little ticky-tack 5-yard penalty and see what happens with defensive linemen saying it's only 5 yards. All right.
I mean, look, the better team was the one that didn't make the penalties at the end of the game. I mean, I feel terrible for Joseph Asai, but Chiefs fans have been doing this long enough, or they've experienced this long enough to now they're on the other side, right? In 2018, they were literally one snap away from going to the Super Bowl. But of course, any camera angle, whether it's from the broadcast or people in the stands, like, unfortunately, D4 was offsides. And in this case, Joseph Asai, I mean, both of Pat's feet are in the out of bounds area. There's no gray area. It's pretty black and white.
100%. That's a penalty.
Yeah. And Harrison Butker acknowledged that. Harrison Butker was like, the top of my range was probably 53 yards. I felt really comfortable from 50. If that penalty does not occur, they have to run another play with 8 seconds left to get maybe 10 to 7 yards because it would have been a 60-yarder attempt without the penalty.
I was really surprised without any timeouts. I was really surprised that they didn't snap the ball to Mahomes and then he just throws like a back shoulder fade like 10 yards above the receiver on the outside to get like 4 seconds. So they didn't even have to kick that ball at the very end of the game. Because Nate, I don't know if you paid attention. I may have been the only one in the world that was thinking this. Please let me know in the comment section if anyone else was thinking this. But on that lateral and the kickoff at the very end, when Trent Irwin threw the ball up in the air, I think it was Marcus Kemp who caught it. I didn't think Marcus Kemp stepped out of bounds. So he's running around with the ball in his hand like this, like everybody's starting to celebrate. And I was like, I think the ball's alive. Like, no. This is going to be the most brutal ending ever.
Go down.
It's going to be like the Stanford like band game. It's like, get our Cal, like get him off the field.
Yeah.
Just go down, score a touchdown. I don't care. I think the ball is still alive. And so like half of us are celebrating on our live stream. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, like, is it live? And then I saw everybody running on the field. It was like, I don't know what's going to happen here. But yeah, just unbelievable game. And I want to go to the next question for you, Nate, because I'm going to leave this one kind of open-ended. I didn't know if you knew this or not, but do you know that you cover the guy who ranks third in postseason history in NFL sacks?
Yep.
You get to cover that guy.
Yes, I do.
He passed another former Chiefs legend in Terrell Suggs. We're not going to make this a Frank Clark show. My comments about Frank are pretty well out there.
The Terrell Suggs 12-game legend.
Got a Super Bowl.
He did. He helped them win a Super Bowl. No doubt. No doubt. I just love that you said Chiefs legend. And I was like, in my head, I was like, who are you talking about? Terrell Suggs.
Who else who else for you? I know there's 100 guys you could pick from, and I know you don't want to single anybody out, but I'm going to make you single somebody out. Who deserves more flowers than has probably gotten them as we sit here 48 hours or so after that game has ended?
God, I love this question. I really love this question. It's Andrew Wiley. It's Andrew Wiley. I know we talk a lot about Orlando Brown because he plays the more glamorous, the more demanding position. Andrew Wiley really only popped up because he got called. By the way, this is also for Bengals fans. He got called for a holding penalty in which I was like, where's the hold? I was like, you telling me he moved him from one gap all the way to the other gap? Like, where's the...
Or the taunting. Or the taunting penalty.
And look, I love it. I love that Andy's like, think. By the way, Andy had no control of those guys' emotions. Like, he did have control of those guys' emotions, but he really didn't. This is the first time all season where he's like, guys, focus on the game.
The greatest tight end in NFL history. He called a political figure from an opposing team's mayor a jabroni on national TV that got quote tweeted by The Rock. It just completely dominant. This was really the first week because like Willie Gay let it out first. Like, what impressed you about their offense? Nothing. And then he repeated it again. then Chris Jones walks in and says, can't wait to see you guys in Burrowhead. Like, Andy had them so focused and quote unquote locked in that he lost control of them emotionally. So Andrew Wiley's like, what's wrong? Because you're getting blocked. And the ref's like, I mean, come on, man. Like, there's cameras here, dog. Like, the league's gonna be mad at me if I don't, you know what the rule is, Andrew. It's not the first guy, it's the second guy. I gotta penalize you. But that's the only time you heard Andrew Wiley's name because Andrew Wiley blocked as if his life depended on it. I thought there were times in the run game where, Trey Smith got beat. It happens. On one of the last plays before the last possession, Creed Humphrey has the holding penalty, which is a hold. He's actually, he's got the guy's arm and he's trying to prevent his progress. So Creed Humphrey didn't have like a clean game. Joe Thuney, I thought, helped Orlando Brown a lot. Obviously, there were chip helps from McKinnon and Pacheco. So, I thought Thuney was pretty solid for what you expect from him. But look, man, Andrew Wiley is their longest tenured offensive lineman. He's probably from a talent standpoint, they're fifth, probably their weakest. But man, as he just squeezed everything out of his body while knowing the scheme, knowing the situation. And look, blocking Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson is really hard. And I don't think any of those 3 sacks on Mahomes are really the offensive line's fault. It's just Mahomes saying, I just need to eat the football here so that we can get to the next down. I don't want to do what Joe Burrow did. I don't want to be pressured into making a mistake downfield. It's more valuable for us to just play to the next down, survive to the next down. But all 3 of those sacks aren't really because the offensive line lost. If you look at the next gen stats, he had all the time in the world, and that's because he was really good out of the pocket. He was really good in the pocket. And I don't agree with the Andrew Wiley hold in the red zone, but it is what it is. But I just think someone who was so bad, obviously in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, playing the tackle position to where he is now, to fortifying, what the team did. Basically, he was a free agent last year, came back. It's really Andrew Wiley for me just because of the responsibility for all those linemen and knowing that he may have the least chance to succeed because they were giving the chip help mostly to the left tackle, which puts the right tackle on an island. So the defense knows if we are going to
attack a certain direction, we should put one of our best pass rushers on the right tackle because we have a guaranteed one-on-one. And Andrew Wiley held up even on the run for 5 yards. Look at Andrew Wiley blocking his what off.
Yep. I love it. I never felt so gutted for somebody that I did for Andrew Wiley in that moment that he got called for taunting, because we were all disagreeing on, again, going back to our show, like we were all disagreeing in the moment. I was like, you can't let these guys have some fun on the field. Eli Apple makes a play and literally looks at Andy Reid and the entire Chiefs sideline and is running his mouth and nothing. And after a big incompletion, or he can follow a play. Yeah. Eli Apple, Mike Hilton wasn't talking any trash. I don't think he gave up an incompletion the entire game, but he walks all the way back, which is amazing because he's the one who started the Burrowhead comment.
Yes.
But and he's just like, we're going after that guy. But for Andrew Wiley to get called, you can't make that call in that moment. But we're going to get one more Bernie question with Nate Taylor right after this quick break. And it's the important one because it is what the most important group for the Chiefs getting ready for the Super Bowl of the next week and a half. The most important group is, I'm going to ask Nate Taylor about that group right after this. All right, welcome back. We were with Nate Taylor from The Athletic. Nate, we've been breaking down the Chiefs and Bengals game. I want to do a little spring forward, a little look forward right now, because there is one particular group that I believe has their job cut out for them and their work cut out for them more than any other. And they've been getting their flowers this week, probably never more than they possibly should. And that's the Chiefs medical staff. Rick Burkholder, his entire staff. I don't want to try to name all of them. I know the ones that I know, but I don't want to miss somebody.
Yeah.
But
I got you if you miss them.
I know. Okay. I know it's Evan Kraft, David Glover, Julie Freimeyer, and
Tiffany.
Who did I forget? Tiff. Oh, Tiff. I'm sorry, Tiff. So, and Tiffany Morton. So,
Tiffany Morton.
Yeah. Is there a more important group for the next week and a half to the Chiefs? I mean, obviously the players, but half the team's hurt right now. The context of that game and what they overcame to do it is awesome in that game. But now it's like, we need to get these guys healthy, because I don't want to see a piece together offense that Andy Reid is going to prove that he can get anything to work. I want to see Juju and McCole. We'll see what's going on with McCole. That one's a little worrisome because it seems to be the same kind of issue that he had been dealing with. But Nate, is there a more important group to the Chiefs over the next week and a half to get these guys ready for the Super Bowl?
Getting them to the game, no. I fully agree with you. I thought it was really commendable that Travis Kelsey basically named all of them in his post-game comments, because of course he had the back spasms towards the end of Friday's practice. He got treatment. They immediately sort of figured out, hey, here's what we'd like you to do. Obviously you could take anti-inflammatories, you can apply heat, but obviously you just need to be cautious about it and then see how it sort of responds on Saturday. So Saturday night, I think Adam Shepard put this out, but Saturday night I was told, hey, he should be fine. He's going to play. And it's like, okay, well, that's what is pretty much indicated on the injury report. Like, it would be more news if I got the other side, which was like, hey, we are really concerned. So I thought it was cool that he named all those people who got him, back to being his normal self. I know there are some people who were like, did they run the hook and ladder because he didn't want to get hit? No, it's just because they wanted to surprise. They wanted to surprise the Bengals. It really wasn't because of he was concerned about catching the ball in the middle of the field with two defenders, one on each side. Maybe they come and tackle him from behind. It's just no. We just want to put some things on tape. So that was cool. I think when the game starts, because of playoff Frank, because that's a real thing now. Because he is sort of, it's wild. They traded for Frank Clark, and in 3 of the 4 years since the trade, they've gone to the Super Bowl.
Weird.
He played so well. He played so well in Sunday's game because he was disciplined enough to never let Burrow escape from his side of the pass rush. Obviously, a lot of things were tied for Chris Jones to obviously succeed against lesser linemen. That happened. But look, his spin move is back, which is crazy. He's going now from speed rush to long arm to spin move. It's pretty good.
He did the fake spin. It didn't work the one time I saw, but he even tried the fake spin that we saw in the in the Titans game during that run.
So,
he's
putting it together. Carlos Dunlap, I thought had a really good game too, where he got up, he's the one who prevents a pass so Chris Jones can get the sack because his gigantic arms are just in the throwing lane. And then Joe Burrow's like, and so there's Chris Jones. And now that's the last play for the Bengals in the game. I'm fascinated to know that all that's left for the Chiefs defense is the best offensive line in football. That's all that's left. That's it. I mean, if you want to be champions, you're just going to have to disrupt the most talented, cohesive offensive line all season. And Lane Johnson is doing heroic bleep with his own injuries. So if the pass rush can stay healthy, can stay active, obviously can provide pressure to Jalen Hurts, then that'll be fascinating. But yeah, up until this, I would say for Chiefs fans, like nothing this week matters health-wise in terms of like I can't remember if they had to put out an injury report, but like they'll have some practices. They'll be pretty much light. It's what happens next Wednesday and Thursday that are going to be the keys as to saying, okay, here's where we think the guy is in terms of what his practice reps are and, of course, what he's done. Looking forward to the game. The last little bit of tidbit I'll give out is so now that they've made the Super Bowl, each team has to let a reporter watch practice from beginning all the way to the end in its entirety.
Ooh.
And I didn't
know this.
So this is the Pro Football Writers Association. This is our benefit. I don't think it's going to be me that watches practice from beginning to end, but there's always someone who watches practice from beginning to end on the Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday heading into the Super Bowl on both teams. And then that report is then put out to the Pro Football Writers Association. You should follow them on Twitter, or you could check out their website. But they give a NFL sort of pool report from Super Bowl practice. And that sort of informs you to some extent, even a little bit more than what you would get in a normal week, which is we watch stretching, we watch maybe some individual early in the season. We might get some team action just so that we can see what is translated from camp to the regular season. But, this week with Anklegate, I saw like 2 dropbacks and they were like, you good? Because we got to get you out of here. So
no, it wasn't 2 dropbacks. We saw a spin we saw a stepping down the stairs video that did like 500,000 views. We saw a spin that changed the line in Vegas.
Yes.
It has been an amazing season thus far for Chiefs Kingdom. We have studied everything from holds on a kick more than any other time in football history from a fan base to watching an ankle more closely than anything else. They had a spotlight, like a spot camera on his feet during the broadcast that they would cut to. I don't know who the poor guy was or girl that literally was probably only filming his feet the entire time with the hundreds of cameras that CBS probably had out there in the stadium for that game. Have we missed anything on this episode of KCSN Update? There is so much to talk about with this game, but love that you brought up Andrew Wiley. Love we talk about Chiefs medical staff because, as you say, nothing matters till next Wednesday. That's when they need to be on the field, so that the work is being done from
now
this
until
minute.
then.
Yeah, for again Juju, for L'Jarius Sneed going through concussion protocol. Hopefully, with the 2 weeks, that will end up being okay. Hopefully, that L'Jarius is all right, but Juju, McCole, Kadarius Toney. As soon as he went down, I was like, that doesn't look good. Like just his body trying to go faster, or his mind trying to go faster than his body will allow. So hopefully we get good news there. But I did not know that about the pool report. Having somebody be there. Interesting.
From beginning to end.
Sure, coach is thrilled.
Because in 2019, that was one of the nuggets. One of the nuggets we got out of 2019 was Andy Reid inviting Jimmy Johnson and I think Donovan McNabb to practice, so that both guys could talk to the team to sort of give their perspective as what it takes to obviously play in the Super Bowl and hopefully win in the Super Bowl. And then I remember Kelsey sort of telling me that like the Jimmy Johnson You can look this up, but obviously,
yeah,
his sort of
I remember it now. I didn't know that's where it came from. Because that was in Miami, though.
Yes, that was in Miami. Yep.
Yes. Okay, I do. I remember that. Yeah.
So, and so him saying that, like, that sort of actually helped, Travis not make the game too big. Because obviously there was the first Super Bowl for pretty much everybody on that team except for Terrell Suggs. So yeah, that's where some of those details come in. Chiefs legend, yeah. That's where some of those details come in. I mean, they're not taking down the jersey from the rafters. But the
Ring of Honor.
The last
4 years away.
The last thing I want to say is, I wish I identified this man in the entry walkway from the tunnel to the locker room. As I wrote in the story, it was like this impromptu parade for some of the season ticket holders, suite holders who got to, high five the guys and, celebrate with them and cheer them on as they were walking from the field to the locker room. I wish I got this man's name. Hopefully this gets to him in some capacity, but there was some guy, and I put this in the story, as everybody's going, woo, and yeah, like, oh my God, we're going back to the Super Bowl, and Patrick touched me. He high-fived my hand.
I'm never washing his hand.
Some guy saw Steve Spagnuolo. It was like, Spags, you killed it. And everybody goes, yeah, that is right. Yeah, we did held them to 20 points. Shout out to Spags. You got those rookies ready to go. And all Steve Spagnuolo did was never change his movement, never changed his gait, continued to walk and just said, thank you. And just walked into the locker room. And it's one of those things where it's just like, yep, that man's done it before and he did it again.
Yep.
And he's a really good defensive coordinator. Really good. I know
Craig Stout said it before. Craig Stout told us on the network. He talks about it all the time. He's like, I do not understand why people criticize this man. He is so good at what he does. And in the biggest moments, he always has a plan and he always steps up and gets it done.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy part was that, look, Lou Anarumo has gotten all the praise. No one really talked about Steve Spagnuolo. And as you said, based on what Jay Feely put out there, he was just, hey, sometimes y'all playing checkers, we out here playing chess. Like, we not going, why would we show you everything in December? Especially with our crowd, with the crowd noise. Let's see if a couple injuries happen, which did. And, things can obviously change from one matchup to the next. And as I told some fans, even as I told my dad on the phone, I was like, look, I know everybody talks about Mahomes because, yes, it's ankle gate. It's Mahomes watch. I get it. But also, everybody on the defense is healthy. Everybody on the defense has experience playing this team. A lot of this is on the defense's – is in the defense's hands. And Steve Spagnuolo finally got the credit. Someone recognized him when they're celebrating the Super Bowl and was willing to say, hey, man, you killed it. And look,
let's find that man.
Let's find that man. Person. I wish I couldn't really see him. All I could do was just hear him in the crowd. And I thought it was just an amazing moment. It was just like, yes, someone out here acknowledges that Steve Spagnuolo
was it in that little area outside the locker room?
Yeah.
That little like bar area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
You can't get in there without special tickets, so they should be able to find that person.
We really should. Like, if someone listens to this and knows it, I may obviously text a few people. But yeah, whoever that person was, I just thought that was a really, really cool
locker room club
and smart moment. Yeah. It was a really smart moment to say, like, you killed it because you put Joe Burrow in a world that he had not been in a very long time. And obviously the players have to execute it, but he had to plan to get the guys to believe, and obviously the guys took it from there. But that would be the last thing I'll share is that there was a lot of cigars, and it was fans willing to recognize that it's not just the players. You need everybody. Everybody has to do their part, and Steve Spagnuolo got just a little bit of praise in the midst of the celebration.
And he deserves a lot more, and he'll deserve even more because, he's going to be fired up. Everybody's going to be fired up. So many storylines going into this game between the Chiefs and Eagles for Super Bowl 57. That is Nate Taylor from The Athletic. We'll check in with Nate next Tuesday again here on KCSN.
From Arizona.
From Arizona.
From Arizona. Yeah, I'll be there next week. Unbelievable.
Love it. I'll be driving through Arizona here in just a few hours with my guy Tucker Franklin as we come back from Vegas. As everybody else starts heading out west, we're coming back home to Kansas City. We appreciate everybody for hanging out. Please hit that like and subscribe. Follow us on your favorite platform. We appreciate you, Nate. We'll see you all next time.